Hello, everybody, and welcome to Season 2 of the CertiCraft. Before I get into what Season 2 is going to be all about, I just want to do a quick land acknowledgement. I live in Nelson, BC, in the Kootenays here, and I live in the unceded territories of the Sinixt people, and through intermarriage, the Tanaha as well. And in this region, those people have been basically slaughtered. There used to be thousands of them here in the Kootenays. Now there's less than 10. So it's a pretty brutal history that took place here. That's really sad, and I encourage each of you to kind of reflect on the realities of whatever indigenous cultures and tribes and nations existed in your particular neck of the woods. I think the first step to any meaningful reconciliation is actually understanding what happened, and then going from there. And yeah, it's sad, but that's the reality at hand, and the least we can do is actually understand what took place. So with that being said, we'll shift into the CertiCraft. Like I said, we are kicking off Season 2 today. I'll introduce our guest in a moment here. And like Matt is saying there in the chat, congrats to Nick, my co-founder. His wife had a baby, I think 3 days ago, 26th. Mabel has been born, come into the world, and she is a beauty. So Nick might not be here today because he is a new dad right now. So the CertiCraft, for those of you who haven't been here before, is a podcast where we talk about the state of the legal craft cannabis industry. In Season 1, we focused on what's going well, what's not going well, and what we can do to make things better in this industry. In Season 2, we're going to be highlighting both really cool stories, innovative ideas, and people who are going out on a limb in the world of craft cannabis, as well as really awesome community leaders and people who've done a lot for the industry. For episode 1, actually, no, before I go that, one last housekeeping item. We have a chat. Please do interact in there. It makes it so much more fun when you guys are engaging with us. And if you have any questions for myself or Kieley, who I will be introducing momentarily, we have a dedicated questions tab, and there you can put in whatever question you have. You can upvote things that you like, and we'll go through at the end in order of upvotes. All right, with all that being said, I'm finally going to introduce our guest for our first episode of Season 2 here, who is Kieley. And Kieley, we brought back, she was one of our guests in our very first episode of the CertiCraft. And when we put out a call out for people who had cool stories, positive stories that they wanted to share, because there's been a lot of doom and gloom with the CertiCraft because there's so much fucking bullshit in this this industry that we're in. We wanted to, do something a little more positive, a little nicer. So we put out a call out to our community who's got a positive story to share. And Kieley reached out and she wanted to share something. And since she was one of our first guests, one of the two first guests that we had in our first episode, we thought it would be very fitting to have her as the first episode of Season 2. So with that being said, hello, Kieley. Welcome back to the CertiCraft.
Hi, Sami. Thank you so much for having me. As a land acknowledgement from my neck of the woods, I am located on a Treaty 6 territory, and our facility is on the nation of the Enoch Cree Nation. And we have Blackfoot, Chippewan, Dene, Métis, Cree, a lot of different First Nations in our neck of the woods. And so I would like to acknowledge that as well.
Kieley, quick question for you. So I grew up in Palestine, actually moved here about 10 years ago, got my citizenship in Canada 3 or 4 years ago, which is a big part of why like the indigenous stuff really rubs me the wrong way, because I escaped genocide and came here to find that a way more significant genocide had successfully been undertaken. I don't know what Treaty 6 is, or are you able or willing to inform me real quickly what that is?
I would not want to butcher it. I know that is the land that we are on. I myself am learning more about it. My kids are Métis. Their ancestors are from the Saskatchewan nations of Métis, as well as Manitoba. And so I am learning more about that every day, about where we live, and especially because we are literally right on the doorstep of the Enoch Cree Nation. Our facility is right there, where their reserve is. So I just wanted to provide that acknowledgement. I'm definitely learning as I go as well.
Sounds good. I've just written that down so I can look it up later. Cool. So, Kieley, do you want to maybe share a little bit about yourself? Maybe just take 1 minute to say a few things. I know you're involved with quite a few different really impactful things here in the industry that we're part of. And maybe we can start with that before we dive into the actual discussion that we'll have.
Sure. Well, I was one of the founders, co-founders of Parkland Flower, myself and my grow partner, Dustin McLean. We got together in 2018 and just formed the idea of starting this up. And as we went through the process, we realized that there wasn't enough zoning available in Parkland County. That is where we wanted to put our facility. And so we started out right at the beginning, and that is lobbying our city council of Parkland County. And we successfully got them to open it up to industrial zoning so we could do an indoor facility. And after that, we started the application process. And we attained our license in after a very long wait in August of 2020. And we've been basically producing cannabis genetics, seeds, and dried flower. We got our processing license in 2021, and we were able to then start to package our own dried flower. So we've been working on that. As well.
I know we'll talk about that in a bit.
Absolutely. And then in 2019, I started and founded the Alberta Cannabis Micro License Association. So we've been really involved in advocating for micro license holders and nursery license holders in Alberta. And, I get involved in anything to do with advocacy, speaking at conferences, talking to government, writing letters, any of those types of activities. Those types of activities really make a difference because the government doesn't know what they don't know. And so, it's been a wild year, and I'm really excited to talk about the changes that we've experienced since we last talked.
Cool. So maybe on that note, Kieley, when we last talked, it was a year and just about a month ago. It was the start of April. We're at the very end of April now. Do you want to maybe give us a summary of kind of what developments have taken place at Parkland Flower since that time?
Absolutely. So Dustin and I, when we first started doing this, a part of the money that we used was my savings. That was sort of our seed money, but we did have to raise some more money. So we took on an investor very early on to help us with the construction. And so right when you and I talked last year, our investor wanted an exit. He wanted to go back to construction, do his thing. He's not a cannabis guy. He just gave, he invested the money. And so we started just putting some feelers out. And shortly after the interview with you, we had another investor come into our facility, and they came on board and took over the shares and basically acquired our company. Which was very unexpected. we were just like, okay, wow. And I think what he saw in us was that as a small operator, we immediately got to work on distribution, and that's in the form of seeds. So we sold seeds to Alberta, Ontario, BC, and New Brunswick.
Sorry, is this seeds that are meant for other producers or for consumers that want their 4 plants?
For consumers that want their 4 plants. So
Okay.
we've been selling seeds since November of 2020 to directly to retail. Well, directly, I mean through the provinces.
Yeah.
And what that meant was that we have our distribution channel already set up. We've got all the insurance requirements, the CRA requirements. We have packaging capabilities, and that got us kind of ready to go. And so with this investor now, he really wants to come in and make us, just bring us to the next level. We didn't have fully functioning rooms at that time because we didn't have enough money to, add more lights. We were working at half capacity. Our rooms are supposed to have, 14 to 20 lights each, and they had 8. So now over the summer, since we did that, we've been able to upgrade our rooms, add more environmental controls, and really start dialing in to grow amazing flower. I think what a lot of micros don't realize that you get into it, you do grow amazing flower, but if you don't have that distribution channel set up, that's we really want to just rely on ourselves. We have worked with processors in the past to get our flower out and brand it to us. And that proved to be really challenging. And we also lost a lot of margin because we had that middle person. But processing is not for everybody. It does take a lot of skill. It takes a lot of labor and a lot of employees, and it's super competitive out there. So that was what kind of really, I think sometimes in some aspects saved us.
So I've got a question for you. I want to kind of circle back to you talking about, this new investor coming in and them basically saying, hey, we want to acquire you. And that being unexpected, not something you were necessarily seeking. So how did that feel, like on an emotional level? What went through you and Dustin as you kind of weighed this thing that was on the table?
I think it's bittersweet. It's it's like, okay, someone's going to come in and they're going to have full control because that's what they wanted. That they were going to come in, they bought the majority of the shares, and so now they're in control. And they wanted to bring on more employees. They brought in an operations manager, who's excellent. He's great. His name's Rob. So Rob came on board, super passionate about cannabis as well. And so, it's like your baby, and it's like you're shooing them out of the nest. You're like, okay, you got to go fly now. And so, yeah, it's bittersweet, now we kind of, we have to run our decisions by someone else. And that's a part of it. But personally, for Dustin and I, it has definitely taken the stress off of us and allowed us to focus on what we do well. So, pre-acquisition, we were experiencing a lot of founder burnout.
Yeah.
We were exhausted, the both of us. Dustin was working 16-hour days in the facility, day after day, just keeping the plants going. We could not afford to bring on staff to help him. I was doing packaging and processing. Our original investor was literally putting seeds into packaging. And we had to do everything we could to survive. I wasn't sleeping. I was out knocking on doors, going from retailer to retailer, trying to get our product name out there and branding. And just hanging on for dear life. Part of 2021, I was still, or part of 2020, I was on CERB.
Yeah.
We weren't making salaries. We were on government assistance trying to get to licensing.
Goodness for CERB. CERB and CRB, those
honestly,
programs are
I don't
amazing.
know that I would have survived without CERB, which is crazy. And so many micros are going through that. And, I spoke with a micro yesterday that went under 17 months ago, right at the, sort of the beginning of COVID. And, there's a lot of micros that are experiencing that kind of headache right now. And so, my work as an early adopter and as coming in, we're the ninth micro license holder in Alberta. I really want to make it easier for those micros that come behind us. And that this industry can only get stronger with successful craft operators.
So maybe this is a good point here to segue into your work with the ACMLA, because the ACMLA exists to do exactly what you were just talking about there, about making it easier for small scale craft operators. What if any developments have there been in the past year since we last talked on that front?
Well, for the ACMLA right now, on the front of membership, we had our AGM back in November, I believe.
Oh, and sorry, Kat, I'm just going to pause for a moment. There's some people who joined since we first talked about it. For those of you who aren't following, ACMLA is the Alberta Cannabis Micro License Association.
Yes.
Okay, sweet, got it
Yeah.
right. I was like, is a C cannabis
I know,
or craft?
it's a mouthful.
No, there's an M for micro, so the C must be cannabis. Okay.
Yeah, I know it's a mouthful, but when you're speaking to government, they need to understand, like right from the get-go, they need to understand what it is that you're standing for and who your members are.
Mhm.
So when we had our AGM back in November, what the feedback was from members were, we're already feed to death. We cannot afford any more fees. And that was when we made the decision, you know what? No more fees. Anybody who has a micro license for cultivation, a micro license for processing, or both, or a nursery license, your membership is free. You'll be able to sign up on our website in about 2 weeks. We're just updating everything now to reflect those changes. We had to change rep providers, not to get into too much nitty-gritty detail about that. But what I would love for people to do is reach out to me directly. Give me your email. We meet once a month at 4:20 on the last Thursday of the month. And we're doing a fundraiser so that we can really put our efforts into lobbying. We are registered to lobby the Alberta government. I think there is definitely talk about us expanding Canada-wide. So whether you're a micro in Alberta or a micro elsewhere in Canada, we want your input because Alberta is a big market. Being a real first adopter in retail, Alberta is definitely where micros want to be selling their product. And so, yeah, we just we want to get everybody on board and be that voice of craft cannabis. I think the next big thing we're working on is definitely the excise tax. I think that's at the forefront of everyone's mind, is that, when you're paying 25 to 30% of your top line revenue to taxes before you get paid, that is an issue, and that stifles growth. It stifles the industry, and it sets up a market for small business to fail, and unnecessarily.
100% agreed, and I'm stoked that the budget the committee, the Department of Finance Canada, has created an actual I don't know what you'd call it, like a table, a representative, like an actual group that you can engage with as the cannabis industry now, and that's part of the government, the budget that was set last month or earlier this month.
It's the very first time cannabis has ever been mentioned in the budget. And that right there, they know. There's been numbers out there. I just saw a report the other day that cannabis GDP since legalization in 2018 has brought in over $43 billion in GDP. And that's in the form of jobs. That's in the form of, equipment, maintenance, construction, like everything. It's starting to come in line with industries that are as well developed as, wheat, any other agricultural products, dairy. I mean, dairy's a $70 billion GDP to the Canadian economy. So, we're getting up there, and we're getting recognition, and the world is watching.
And just kind of for anybody who does have access to government or wants to lobby their MP or talk to this new organization that's being created, an argument that is very powerful, one that we used as part of the the Kootenay Cannabis Economic Development Council and CertiCraft for a letter that we distributed for the consultation they had for this budget to try to get this on the table. The main argument was, hey, look, the excise program has brought in about $1 billion in revenue in the first 3 years of legalization. There was 14 billion, a much greater number, brought in through sales tax, through income tax, property tax, corporate taxes, all the various other taxes that exist around the industry. And so if you were to significantly reduce the excise tax, like, yes, that 1 billion might drop to, let's call it 300 million or 200 million. But that 14 billion then becomes 50 billion, 80 billion, 100 billion. And of course, the excise will eventually grow to where it can be. So that was kind of the argument that we really pushed, and it's an argument that is very easy to accept for anybody kind of in that world of finance on a policy and government level. And ultimately, the Department of Finance Canada, the CRA, they want more revenue for their coffers. And if there's an argument of, hey, slash this thing, and you will triple your revenue, you will quadruple your revenue, that is a very powerful argument to make. So I encourage all of you to reach out. Once this organization thing in the budget committee is created, we need to hold them accountable to the fact that this is necessary. So as soon as there's any information on how to actually engage with them, I hope that every single one of you that's listening to this, whether it's here live or on YouTube later, just go find that contact information and tell them why the current regime is a problem and why changing it is actually going to make the government a lot more money, while also enabling small scale businesses to actually thrive. So that's my piece that I'll say right there. But
there you go. And we will be engaging them. We are engaging them in May, at the very end of May. The Cannabis Council of Canada is planning a meeting on the Hill. There will be speakers. There will be government representation there. And we've also been working with the Canadian the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses, which also has a very strong lobbying arm. And I mean, advocacy works, and we can see that in policy changes that have happened. The most recent policy change that has happened in Health Canada wise, that is amazing, is that any micro or standard license holder that has a processing license is now able to sell dried flower and pre-rolls without going through a full sales amendment, that takes an upwards of, anywhere from 3 months to a year. So now right out the gate, when you get a processing license, you will be able to sell your products directly to the directly to the provincial bodies, direct to retailers in Saskatchewan. Yay, Saskatchewan, still number one in Saskatchewan. Yeah. BC is opening up to direct to retail as well.
But with in a really problematic way. The BCLDB
absolutely, it's not done the right. It's not going to be done the right way.
What they're doing, just to take this off from them, they're doing this. Boo boo, we know better than you. That's literally their whole attitude, and it really, really sucks. And everybody is hurting. And it's this. BC has this weird thing going on where like ICBC is the same thing. The like public transportation system in Metro Vancouver is the same thing, where there's a public service that's mandated by government that's operated by a private for-profit corporation, and that's what the BCLDB is like. So their values don't line up with ensuring that the industry thrives. Their values line up with, we want to make the most money possible. And
well, their values actually line up with public health and safety. That's what the purpose of legalizing cannabis was to make it safer.
Totally. I'm just saying the BCLDB is an organization. It's a for-profit private corporation that's operating a monopoly public service. So
absolutely. I mean, and the same thing's happening in Ontario. It was happening in AGLC. That's another change that AGLC just did. They no longer are doing online sales. So the AGLC is no longer competing with retail in Alberta, which is huge for retailers. But there's also some downsides to that as well, especially for small license holders. And especially when you have a niche product, like for us with seeds, seeds is a really interesting, very niche category. It's a very small amount of what retailers bring in percentage wise, like probably not even 1% of the whole market. And so what
I've
makes
never
that
even
really,
seen seeds on a menu when I walk into a cannabis retail store. It's just not
yeah.
highlighted.
And a lot of that reason is because the provinces are not taking on enough variety. So this year, Ontario took on more seeds than they ever have before. They have almost 25 SKUs of seeds now, which is amazing. And I see Sarah Campbell on here. Great Gardener has got some seeds out this year, which is super exciting. Texata Genetics has got some out. We see Dutch Passion. And as we get more seed providers out there, it's going to be awesome, because now we'll actually be able to compete with the illicit market. A lot of times competing with them, how can you compete with 10 SKUs in comparison to 150? It's really, really difficult because people don't have selection. And now that you're not able to do an online platform through the AGLC, for small, like a lot of times I'd just be like, go, purchase your seeds at AGLC, because I'm not sure which retailer has it, because we don't get that information unless you spend a ton of money gleaning that information, buying data, literally spending the time to call every single retailer and trying to keep understanding what they have in stock at all times. It's very challenging for small operators to operate in such a vast market. And getting to farm gate for seeds and clones, that's the number one. That's the number one thing that us at the ACMLA is working on for the AGLC. We want to do a warm farm gate.
What does it mean when you say warm?
I say warm in that let's do seeds and clones first. They're like, we're not going to do direct sales. We're not going to allow you to sell dried flower, extracts, topicals, or anything like that. You have to go through us. That's what they're saying. And what I'm saying is, look, Health Canada has deemed seeds and clones as sort of the bottom of the risk scale, right? Like it's the least risky product you could put out, because it's something that people grow. It's not something they directly consume. And so let us sell at farmers markets. When you go to your grow centers at, Canadian Tire, Home Depot, I would love to have a little cage set up with a little table, and I've got all my clones that I bring there. Maybe we get what's called an interim sales license through AGLC that allows us to do that at specific events, just like a distiller or a craft beer operator can sell their brews and their spirits at farmers markets. I see that right now. Legislation is coming down in California to allow for operators to do that directly at farmers markets. There's a couple of places in California where they can do it now, but it's not a direct sale. They actually have to sort of do a convoluted sale process where they actually pay someone, and then that person pays the farmer, and then the farmer gives the product to it's like sort of a back end way of doing it. But right now, California does have a bill in their legislature to move that, or in their Senate, I guess. I'm not as familiar with their setup, but they are.
Is this like just seeds and plants, or are they including flower and things like that?
They will be including all. I think they're looking to do all products, and I think the ability for us to do that in Alberta is closer than ever. Right now, currently, I cannot sell 4 plants to a recreational grower. So where are they getting their clones, right? Where are they getting their 4 plants? Not everybody can grow from seed. We think it's easy because we do it all the time. Sarah here thinks it's like, Sarah does it. We're operators, but you get newbie gardener, has been growing fruits and vegetables, and they want to start growing cannabis. Lots of folks don't start their tomato plants from seed. We don't have the climate for it either to necessarily start that way without buying lights, without having a grow tent. And so clones are really a market that is yet to be developed in Alberta, recreational wise. And that is another big thing that the ACMLA is pushing for.
So let's talk about Parkland flower here for a moment. Let's assume for a moment that there is legislation. The AGLC says, hey, you know what? We're going to let you start to sell seeds and plants in this easier manner. Is that something you want to do at Parkland flower?
100%. Absolutely.
And what would that look like for you with Parkland flower? If you could do it however you want to do it, what was
however
your ideal,
I want it? Oh my gosh,
situation?
I want to sit at a farmer's market and like talk to growers. I think the biggest complaint that I have from retailers is that, if they don't have a bud tender with growing knowledge, they are really nervous about selling seeds because they can't answer questions. And that's the biggest objection that I get for buying seeds from retailers day in and day out. They're like, I don't, if they have complaints, if they, we don't know how to help them. And so being able to have that avenue where we can sell directly and talk about growing and give them tips, and then they can really see us and we can build that community and build that connection with our consumers directly, I think is huge, because no micro can be at every single retail store. I would love to see other retailers also taking more initiative. Like, for example, and this is not a call out, this is a business decision and I get it, but Canna Cabana, High Tide, one of the biggest retailers in Canada, does not buy seeds at all. You might hit a Canna Cabana every once in a while that sells seeds, but seeds should be allowed to be sold in garden centers, hydroponic stores, anywhere that basically you have, here in Edmonton, we have Hydrolite. That's where we go. There's one in the north and one in the south. And that's where I send people. I'm like, go to Hydrolite. They love growing. They love talking about growing. You can buy equipment. You can buy pots. You can buy nutrients, all the things that you need to grow with. And they can also guide you in how to grow. And we just don't have that kind of
ability
expertise
to also sell seeds at that same place.
Exactly. So we just really need to look at what the business model is and talk to government and say, like, these are our challenges. Here's the solutions. Like, let's work with us. Like, we don't want to do anything illegally, and we don't want to do anything to harm anybody. And I don't think there's much room for us to harm anybody with regards to, seeds and clones. However, they want to ensure that we're not selling seeds and clones to some 16-year-olds that are growing it out in their parents' backyard or whatnot, and I think they can. The thing is that they can. A 16-year-old can get seeds and clones, through the illicit market, but an 18-year-old and older can't get clones at all from a retailer or anyone in Alberta right now. And that to me is a travesty.
Yeah. So what have
get down off the soapbox.
let's shift gears a bit. So, a year ago you started talking with this investor who wanted to acquire majority ownership in your business. It was unexpected, but you guys decided to do it. Since then, it's kind of on some level been a relief that, hey, now we have the staff that we need. We're not working all the time as much as we used to be. We actually have more of a semblance of a work-life balance, and
a little bit. I'm still working all the time.
Hence more of a semblance of a work-life balance and not a good work-life balance.
It has allowed us to focus. It has definitely allowed us to focus on what we do best. For Dustin, it's allowed him to focus on cultivation and really dialing in those rooms. For me, it's allowed me to focus on our distribution and business development, for sure.
And so now you guys with the new changes from Health Canada around processing and making the sales amendment a lot easier to receive for just dried flower product. I know that that's something that has impacted you in a positive way. So can you maybe speak to like the most recent developments that have taken place at Parkland Flower as a result of both having more capital in your facility and these changes from Health Canada?
Absolutely. So about a month ago, Health Canada announced that anyone with a processing license would be allowed to sell dried flower, which was huge and very exciting. For us, it was like, what? Like I'm super excited, but we were already in the process of our sales amendment. So it's kind of like, okay, well, everybody's getting it now, which is great. I think it's amazing, but it's still also like, God, we did all this work and now we're going to get it anyways. Like if I'm just being fully transparent.
I mean, that's what the early people got. Like one of our first
Yeah.
customers is a micro in Caslow. He was like the first or second micro in BC, and he had to do all this fencing. Like he had to spend like tens of thousands of dollars on all this infrastructure they required at the time. And very quickly, we're like, oh, this is overkill. We don't need people to do this. And then everybody after him like had the way easier time building their facility, and it's just that's just what happens when you're a trailblazer and
Absolutely, we get it,
but it sucks.
It does suck, it does suck, you know. But at the same time, like I can't have that kind of attitude towards it, because you know, every step forward is a step forward for the industry as a whole. And, you know, as annoying as it is or irritating as it is that it wasn't in place before, it's in place now. And there's only room to keep going up. There's only room to grow.
And there's a big difference between being like, why was it easier for us, which is not your attitude. That's not what you're saying. You're just acknowledging, yeah, it's like on some level, I'm just so annoyed that we didn't have it this easy, but which is healthy to just acknowledge that exists.
And now I will say there is nothing easy about packaging flower in the regulated industry. Okay, it is still a challenge. We definitely do not have the economies of scale of larger producers that have been processing since well before 2018. You know, but we're going to be hand packaging directly into glass jars, like everybody else. But because we were already in the queue for our sales amendment, that announcement came out, and we got an email from our reviewer that said, basically, thanks for sending in all your paperwork. You folks are good to go. And so this Monday, we got our sales license for dried flower.
Literally this week.
Literally this week. So
Amazing.
On Monday, we attained our sales license, which is very exciting. Thank you so much to everybody for supporting us. And so I just immediately downloaded that license and I went to all the provincial bodies. I sent that license to Alberta, BC, Ontario, New Brunswick. We are also in PEI, and we're good to go in Saskatchewan as well. So over the next few months, as we start packaging up the next few lots that are coming down the line, we're going to be putting that directly out as Parkland Flower, with Parkland Flower's information on as the contact. And it's just, it's incredible that we've gotten here, that we've gotten to this point. It's, it's like, it is a marathon. It is a marathon. You know, I still get people that ask me, you know, should I do this? And I'm like, well, like, you know, I get people who are interested in getting into being a micro and whatnot. You know, I really just chat to people about what their plan is, how they plan to go about things. And I gain a perspective of where I think they are at. And I'm very honest. Either I'm like, yeah, you absolutely should move forward because you've got all the right things in place. Or I'm like, you need to go back to the table, and I wouldn't put a cent into this business until you have more of a plan put together. But as you know, I'm always open to talking to people in the industry or people interested in starting in the industry. I want to pay that forward. I had a ton of people from like 2017 up till right now that have supported me, given me information, walked me through scenarios, helped me with my business plans, helped me with distribution, figuring out how, like, connecting me with folks in the industry, given us discounts on supplies and products because we were on CERB and struggling. And big shout out to Sandra and Ramo at Ramo Nutrients, who really at the start really helped us out with us being able to feed our plants right at the very start until we had a little bit of cash going. And it's community, it's folks like that in our space that this. I didn't do this. Me and Dustin didn't just build this. There were a lot of members in our community that helped us along the way. I mean, Matt Sparrow, who's chatting on here right now, came in and helped us do videos and helped us with, doing some promotions, and bought our product, brought our seeds, the very first launches that we did, and grew them and shared it on Instagram, and really helped get us some hype. And I am just so grateful to those people that have supported us the whole way. Like, we would not be here without any of you. And oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry.
That's okay. Crying is welcome on this show.
Yeah, because it's hard. It's really hard doing this and being that first adopter. And at the same time, it's really beautiful. And to be a part of such a positive change in Canada and in the world, I am just beyond grateful for this experience.
Thank you for your vulnerability and for sharing all that. That's amazing. And I'm stoked that you're where you're at in your journey, in a place that seems, from the outside, and of course is, who knows what I'm missing because I'm not living your experience, but it just seems like you're in a much better place now, and that things have gotten much easier relative to where I know you've been.
I would not say they've gotten easier. I'd say that
less stressful.
I feel more supported, for sure. I feel like I'm not doing it as much, like, internally, like within our facility. I feel like we have so much more support, and that we're not in this alone. And I'm putting this out there to all those micros that are struggling right now. You're not alone. You're not the only one that's going through this, and we need our voices to come together. Like, we really need your stories. I'm going to this event in Ottawa at the end of May, that's put off by C3, and I want to share those stories. And they need to hear it in layman's terms, like not just from dudes in suits that are doing lobbying efforts, or their consultants or whatnot. They need it to hear it from us as farmers. I don't call myself a farmer, but I mean as cultivators, as people where like, I remortgaged my home to start this, and I know that there are a lot of micros out there that did that, and some of them have lost everything they put into it. There are retailers that are shutting down. I've got friends in retail that are super struggling. And the thing is that the prices of everything seem to be going up, right? With COVID, like, gosh, milk has gone up 25 cents for a 4 liter. I mean, food is crazy how much everything has gone up. And yet the price of cannabis keeps tanking. And the people that's going to hurt the most are going to be these small farmers, because they're not going to be able to compete with really large scale operators. And also, once global markets come into play, we're going to be competing with the countries that are around the equator that are the absolute perfect place to grow cannabis outdoor. And it's I think we have a long way to go. It's not perfect, absolutely, but it's incredible how much has changed, I think, from when we first started, and that how it has gotten easier. I hear about people getting through their licensing within 60 days as opposed to our 10 months. And those types of changes is what is really going to propel this industry forward.
Awesome, Kieley. Well, really appreciate your perspective and having you here. To our audience, we're going to be shifting into the questions and answers session soon. So if you have any questions, go ask them in the questions tab and upvote the ones that you like. We'll go through in order. Before we shift gears to that, though, Kieley, can you tell us a bit about what's coming up on the horizon for you? I know you have was it Back to the Garden, I think it was called, retreat that
Oh
you're
yeah.
making?
So we have a Back to the Garden, a women's retreat that's happening in July. It's going to be happening at Mary Jane Manor, another micro. Serena Donovan.
Because you can.
Because you can. Another micro. She was the second micro in Alberta, and she is on she is the first adopter of really embracing cannabis tourism with regards to accommodations. I've seen cannabis tours, and like Dave Dormer there from Kananaskis, who does a cannabis tour in Calgary. But this is the first accommodations that I've really seen, aside from 420 friendly Airbnbs. This is a cannabis focused hotel, and I'm just really excited to bring over 50 women from all aspects of cannabis. And I'm just, it's actually where I met Sarah Campbell, who's commenting here. Kelly Coulter is one of the organizers as well. Kelly has been instrumental in advocating for outdoor cannabis farmers. She's one of the reasons we have outdoor cannabis allowed in Canada. So for those Kootenay operators, those Southern Ontario operators, operators that are out on the island. She's one of the reasons that you're allowed to grow outside. And so, women are powerful, and we need places where we can come together in a safe space, talk about our challenges, and talk about the magic that we have, and that how we utilize it to propel this industry forward.
So if somebody is listening to this and they want to attend Back to the Garden, is that possible? How can they go about finding information, signing up for it?
Absolutely. They can reach out to me directly. I'll leave you folks with my email. I'm just really excited to put that off. And if we get over capacity, we'll have to look at doing another one, and maybe it'll become something that's not just an annual event.
Awesome. Well, that's great. So yeah, Kieley will leave her email in the chat there at some point. And then the other question I have is, now you have your sales amendment for dried flower. You're starting to get into that world. Do you want to share maybe about what's coming on a genetics level with hemp-made flower that you're
Absolutely.
excited about?
Yeah. So, I'll talk quickly about seeds, because we just did 10 drops into the AGLC.
Great.
So in Alberta, we have 4 offerings of feminized seeds, all brand new to us, fully tested. We did 300 seed tests of every genetic to make sure that they were fully feminized. We have blue cherry pie, which is a blue gelato crossed with a cherry pie. It is amazing. And then we're going to have that one come out in flower as well. We have a cherry cake, which is a wedding cake crossed with that cherry pie. Both super great cuts. That one's more of an indica based, super fruity. In Alberta, when we put out all of our SKUs, we basically gave them sort of neutral names. So they're out, blue cherry pie is out as frost, cherry cake is out as fruit. And just so that way we could always hold our SKUs, and we can, next year when we do the next drops,
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it is and it isn't. What the tough part about doing that is that we have to be educating our retailers constantly, because they're like, well, what is this? Like, what is fruit? What cultivar is it? So it's going to be on the package.
Okay, I
But
was
it's
going to ask, like, does it
going to be
let
right on
you?
the package.
Okay.
Yeah, but it won't be on the listing when the retailers sort of see their listings. But retailers can go to Canometrics. That's who we use. We put all of our COAs on there, and I'm actually going to be updating that with all of our new SKUs this week. Again, it's a bandwidth thing, like all of these things that we have to do. It's been crazy.
Yeah.
And yes, so the other two is Blue Mac and Mendo Blue Dream. So Mendo Blue Dream's just a straight Mendo Blue Dream that was brought up from California. And Blue Mac is one that we crossed. That's a Mendo Blue Dream crossed with a Blue Mac. And so what we've been doing is that since we've done those breedings, we started doing pheno hunts. And so our drops of flower are going to be the winners of those, but everybody gets a chance to try growing us as well. And maybe you'll get that winner in those seeds, and I hope you do. I hope people grow it out and love it as much as we do. It smells amazing. So cherry cake and blue cherry pie will be coming out in dried flower as well as pre-rolls. Hopefully by the end of the summer is when we're expecting, and then we're gonna be putting the same ones into Ontario. The other classics that we've had out, we've got our Violator Kush available in seeds, and we're growing it out right now. That one will be harvesting in a couple of weeks, and that one is our 1-to-1. So that's a balanced cultivar. Not a ton of micros are doing.
It's a weird name for a 1-to-1. Violator Kush.
It's because it violates your senses. It literally smacks you in the mouth when you walk into the room. It's a super, super strong. The way, just the aroma of it is super strong.
Oh, you're not even talking about the effects of it. You're talking about just like
no,
the experience of coming across it.
The experience of coming across it. And it is a really, it is balanced, but it's definitely on that indica side. And so great for just relaxing. Obviously, I can't talk too much about the medical stuff, but
you're not talking to consumers here. You're talking to fellow industry people. So
I know, but it's available. It's only available in recreation. So I just have to be really careful.
They would care about you talking on an industry podcast about talking about how it makes
possibly
you feel.
yes, because you know what, we have a license with the AGLC, and I want to keep it. And we're in their sandbox, and you know, what you got to do is you got to go out and buy our product and try it and tell me what it helps you with. Because it helps with all kinds of things.
That is another mark of a problem in this industry, that you can't on a podcast where people legitimately just want to know your experience.
You can't in stores. I just try to.
No, I know, and that's legitimate. It's the very good reason that you're doing. I'm not saying but the fact that you have to be this cautious is just another indicator of just another thing that needs to change.
Well, I mean, this is something that changed. AGLC went a little bit backwards, and this happened late last year. And now Alberta, anybody who wants to sell directly to the AGLC, so licensed producers, micros, so that includes micros, nurseries, everybody, they have to go through the same security screening as retailers do, to the tune of $5,000, right? So as much as we've got our sales license, but the costs, the fees, it cost us $5,000.
Because the years that you went through with Health Canada and the RCMP was just not enough. It's not good enough.
And this has happened as well. And this is another thing that's gone a little bit backwards. But even if you're security cleared by Health Canada, you won't necessarily get security cleared by AGLC.
Just so sad.
It
sad
is.
That you can jump through all those hoops, spend all that time and money. And still not sell your product.
It's crazy. So, you know, there are operators that, say you start a micro in Alberta and you've got any kind of blemish on your record. AGLC doesn't like the look of it. They can just say no and, force you to basically have to sell through another licensed producer. So,
well, on that depressing note, let's shift gears to the questions.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. This is the thing. We're in an industry that's facing a lot of bullshit. There's just a lot of fucked up policy.
Before we move into those questions, I do want to say two things. Sorry, my ADHD. I'm very much an interrupting
That's
person.
okay. That's okay.
We put out 2 new products this year that no one's done in the market, and that is seed multi-packs.
As in like
So
different cultivars in the
different
same packet?
cultivars. So we have 4 cultivars per pack. So we have a multi-pack. We called this one Fertile. The reason being, this is a breeder's pack. It's a 4-pack of it's a 20-pack of regular seeds. That one's got wedding cake, green crack, Cindy in Vegas, and a space cake, which is a Seattle Space Needle crossed with a wedding cake. And so that's a breeder's pack, 20 seeds for $100
And is
in
it all
Alberta.
is it all feminized?
No, those are regular.
Those
So
are
what
regular seeds.
regular
Okay.
means is that they're non-feminized.
Okay. So if you say the word regular in terms of seeds, it means
Regular
specifically
means
not
means
feminized.
they're non-feminized.
Okay.
Yes, they're
So
photo period non-feminized.
how can you sell a pack of 20 seeds through the recreational distribution network when the Canadian government has a limit on 4 personal plants per individual
Because
adult?
everyone is allowed to buy 30 grams of cannabis when they walk into a store. And so 1 gram of cannabis is equal to one seed is equal to 1 gram of cannabis. I can make a 30 pack of seeds if I want. It's
Okay, so
not up
they
to
don't think
it's not up to
because it's
us,
not a
and
live plant yet, it doesn't count towards.
it's not up to the AGLC to enforce, somebody's home grow of 4 plants. That's actually, this sucks to say this, but this is the truth. That's up to the RCMP.
Yeah.
If you want to grow, if you grow more than 4 plants and you don't have an ACMPR, that's on you. We're not there to enforce that as a licensed producer. AGLC is not there to enforce that. But you're allowed to buy as many seeds as you want. You can trade them with your friends. You can share them. And if you have an ACMPR, you can legally grow them. That's not a problem. But at least you've gotten them through the chain, right? So their chain. But yeah, you're not limited to 4 seeds whatsoever.
Great.
In
I'd always assumed that packs couldn't be beyond 4 just because of that limitation.
No, I have had provinces try to tell me that I couldn't do 4, and I said, where in the legislation does it say I have to do 4 packs of seeds? And they couldn't find anything in the legislation, and I said, thank you, and here you go. And so that also, all of our single cultivar packs have come out in 10 packs. The biggest complaint I got last year from growers was that, we had not the biggest complaint, but like it happens.
A common complaint.
A common complaint. Like, honestly, people don't write me emails to say, like, your seeds are fucking amazing. I love them. They write us emails like, these didn't fucking germinate. What happened? Right? And it happens. Yeah. It could be grower error. It could be any number of reasons. It could be the seeds were exposed to heat, light, or moisture in transit. That's,
or at the warehouse, at the government.
Or at the warehouse, or anything like that. So that's out of our hands. Once the seeds leave our facility, the quality management is out of our hands. And so we always replace seeds for folks. If they do have germination issues, we deal with it on a one by one basis. But for the most part, if you had seeds not germinate, but then that's the thing, is that now they've lost 2 or 3 months, of by the time they get those seeds back in hand, they can no longer, they might have missed a part of their season, or, they don't have their full 4 plants growing. So we gave them 10 plants. That's a 2-run pack. So they can start 5, 6, 10.
Yeah. And then ready to go with whatever.
They're ready to go until they get to, legal wise, until they go into like flowering. You just call them back, or you can give them away to friends. There's nothing to say that you can't give them away. So
cool. Well, this is a perfect segue, I think, into our most popular question here, which is from Sarah Campbell, which is, how is the seed market evolving?
Oh, it's evolving. So, for example, in Ontario, they just put out their last report on, I believe, Q4 of last year. Was it Q4? Q3? I'm not sure. But anyways, seeds did $110,000 in total sales. Right? Not huge. That's not huge for an Ontario market. I think this 2022 is going to be huge. Last year, Parkland flower was in the top 5 for seeds sold in Canada. We were number 5 to seeds sold through retail, and we were number 3, top 3 in selling seeds directly out of the OCS. And so that's where we might see a little bit of a headache change from not having the AGLC to sell seeds directly. I think that's going to be tough on some small operators, especially in the seed market. We do really need a centralized seed. Not every retailer wants to hold like a ton of seeds because it's a niche thing. But I think if we were able to do more of an online sales or farm gate, I think that would be more appropriate for the type of product that it is.
Cool. Mark Kerner asks, for micros that get acquired, is it ethical to still call themselves a mom and pop on Insta?
I think, well, we're still running our operation the same as we always did. If it fails, our livelihoods go down the tubes. I think we got a boost. I don't want it to fail. I don't know, ethics wise, I think I'm being very transparent in telling our story about what happened and what we did to survive. Not every other mom and pop operation was able to do that. And for that, we are really, really fortunate. We definitely have a leg up now. We definitely have more of an advantage. We're not as worried as capital, but it's, they're not going to if we're not profitable, we're going to fail, right? We're still going to fail if we don't get there. If we don't get our products out the door, if we don't build brand recognition, we can fail just as easily and lose our jobs. So I guess I would say that we're not so much mom and pop anymore. This is a part of our story and where we are. But we're still running it and still operating it with the same gusto and the same passion and the same urgency to make this work. And I think the other thing is that it's added a whole other layer is now I have 10 employees, families to worry about. It's not just our families now. Now it's not just Dustin's family and my family that I'm worried about. Now I'm worried about 10 other families because we put food on their tables. Sometimes I think the toxic culture of calling your business like we're a family, there can be problems with that as well. We're responsible for keeping these folks employed. And, I think that's super important. And, again, it's the only way this industry is going to survive is getting that capital in there and helping us out until the regulations can meet up with sustainability.
And I think also, like, to add to that, what the acquisition looks like also makes a big difference. Like, if this is a private investor that believes in the vision and just wants to help you get there, that's a very different scenario than, say, like Aurora buying you or Canopy Growth buying you, and then you're just a number to them. They don't care about anything but like being able to feed flower into their broader operations to be able to carry particular craft brands. So if you're acquired and you're still operating with like 10 employees or less, and you're running the show yourselves, you're all like putting your heart and soul and sweat and tears into it, that's a very different situation. So I don't think you can generalize an answer to like this question. It's just it's context dependent.
I don't know if it's an ethics. I don't know if it's an ethics discussion as well. And I know that I did get a lot of hate. I'll be honest about that. I have definitely gotten some trolls online.
Just for the fact that you are no longer.
I'm a successful woman in business. There's definitely going to be trolls. Who the hell do I think I am?
Yeah, where's your penis, Kieley?
Yeah.
Don't you know you need one to talk at this table?
Yeah. So, I've definitely gotten some trolls on Twitter and things like that. And honestly, I block and ignore. I just don't have space in my life for that kind of stuff. And if you hate me because, I made decisions that ensured the survival of my business as well as my livelihood and the ability to put food in the mouths of my children, then I don't need your energy in my life. So that's kind of how I am with that. And
It's a great perspective, yeah. And you can go fuck right off if you're gonna hate on somebody for just taking care
I
of their
wouldn't
needs
say
in the
that,
family.
would I?
I would. I'm saying it right now. You're gonna hate on somebody because they're making ends meet and ensuring that their kids have food on the table. You can fuck right off. There we go.
Yeah.
It's been said. Nathan French asks, the East Coast has clones at dispensaries. Will this maybe happen in BC? I'll add also Alberta in there, even though from what you said about the AGLC rather, it sounds like that's probably not on the table there. But
I think that's what they're getting to. I think BC is trying to set up a framework to be able to do that. It's not in place yet, as far as I can tell, and I haven't seen anyone be able to sell clones yet. Ontario, we just went through a webinar with OCS about their flow through, and a little bit too late right now in the season. But it's something to start prepping for. And flow through basically means is that you're still going to go through OCS. You still have to go through you're going to do a product submission. But now we'll be able to submit clones, and they're working on, maybe we're going to be able to do a drop ship, but they're hoping that they'll be able to do that through flow through. They only just got through the pilot of that. The administration of operating in Ontario is incredibly complex and huge. You're talking about a province with 14 million people. Went from 300 stores last year to almost 1,300 stores today, if not more than 1,300 stores. It's incredibly complex. It's a market. And so they're working to get better. I think they got a little slap on the wrist with the Attorney General's report that came out about the OCS operations and the way the AGCO has operated. It kind of got brushed under the table. There's an election coming in Ontario.
Sorry. Can you go back to rewind to that? What is the commentary that came from the
Auditor General report?
Yeah,
it's there was a lot. There was a lot to that report that came out back in November. But basically that, there's no real process for sales approvals. Basically, there are licensed producers that may not have a proven track record of sell through, yet they still got more SKUs than other licensed producers. So like metrics weren't really considered. Why are some licensed producers, why do some licensed producers have 15 SKUs and others get one? So there was a lot of things, definitely a lot of inefficiencies within with the inefficiencies within the system. I'm not going to speak to all the details of it. I absolutely recommend that you can just search for it online and look it up. But there's definitely, it put a real spotlight on it. I don't know how much is going to change until there's another election, like a provincial election. I think they're all really like, we're not going to mess around with this until we get that cycle. So we'll see what changes come up. Yeah, it was definitely a very interesting read.
One question from Nancy is related to the last question. I assume the answer is no, but I'll ask anyway. Are you able to sell clones directly to ACMPR medical license holders?
I can't directly yet. We don't have a medical sales license. However, there are abilities to do that. I have talked with Gord over at North 40. Gord's got his medical sales and he's been just killing it. It's also about bandwidth. We've been focusing right now on recreational, which I know that's not what everybody needs to hear, but unfortunately recreational puts food on the table. And we really need to dial in our distribution, and that's like really understanding like our packaging, doing all of those kinds of things, labeling and everything like that. Now that we have dried flower, we probably will be going for our medical sales as well. The thing is, medical sales adds a whole other layer. You almost need to hire another employee
Just to do
just
the
to run
sales. Yeah.
just to run medical sales. And with just doing seeds and clones, we simply do not have the capacity to pay a salary for something that salary is not going to come back to us in the form of sales. As we're able to do like Gord got his sales amendment last year or early this year, I think. And he's been doing medical sales directly. And for him, he can do his extracts and his dried flower and pre-rolls and things like that direct to ACM Pure. So he can offer an array of products because we were only able to do plants and seeds. It just wasn't a business model that was sustainable, but it'll come. However, we've definitely talked about us being able to maybe drop ship our clones through Gord. That's something that we've definitely talked about as well. Again, it's a matter of Gord and I sitting down and figuring out how to do that compliantly. And we're both, here's our plate and here's all the stuff coming off of it, because we both have very full plates. So we're getting there. We'll work on it. Great question.
We have one last question that is relevant for this talk. I'm going to ignore your other question, Nathan, about what you had for breakfast. Mark Belanger, I don't know how to pronounce your name there, asks, where can someone go to find out which retailers are carrying Parkland flower seeds? Seems to be harder to find Parkland flower products, and they're specifically asking about Alberta.
Okay, so in about a week, you will be able to see all of our products listed on a site that's called Cannametrics. And it's more for retailers. However, I think folks can go in there and you can see, I don't know how much the platform is, like how much consumers could just go on there. I'm just learning more about it right now. One retail store that has been working with us and really worked with us last year was Value Buds in Alberta. And Value Buds, hate on them all you want, because they have made it very difficult for independent retailers, and they know that. I'm not telling anything that nobody knows, but they have supported us as an Alberta. They still want local product as well. And so Value Buds, you can check them out. And then the best way is to just send me an email. I know it's inefficient, but you can send me an email, tell me what city you're in, and I can direct you to the retailer. And if I don't have a retailer in that community, I will make phone calls until I do. I'm actually planning a phone blitz here next week. I'm going to be phoning every retailer in Alberta, checking in with them, seeing if they've got their inventories for seeds. We're getting better. It's not automated. We're going to be hopefully looking at how we can gain some data from our retail friends. Lake City Cannabis has been big supporters of us down in Calgary. Here we've got in Edmonton, we've got Select Cannabis has always carried our products. Over in Devon, Small Town Buds, they've carried all of our, everything we have. So what we're kind of working on, one of our strategies is going to be going to every single community, finding one store that really wants to work directly with us and saying buy all of our products, have them all in stock. And that's where we're going to send people. And that's it's a lot. We're just developing a lot of those strategies we're developing right now. We're learning by fire. I'll be honest, the first one to say that I fuck up all the time. We make mistakes and we get behind on things, and we feel like sometimes that we're running on a hamster wheel. We're getting better, and we'll hopefully be able to list those on our website soon. That's ultimately where I want to get. We're not there yet, and I apologize for that. We're doing the best we can. The best thing you can do is go to your favorite retailer and beg them to bring our seeds in. That is honestly like the best thing you can do, and be like, I want blue cherry pie. I want you to bring it in. And what we've done for retailers is we've put them into 6 units per pack now. So it's a lot easier for retailers to budget, without bringing in 12 packs of seeds. One of the things we learned last year was that was too much for retailers. So AGLC did a minimum on us. We had to do 6. So I probably would have tried to do less, but it costs us a lot more to do that too, right? Like it costs us a lot in shipping and packaging to do less packs per case. So that's kind of what we're doing. That's a very long-winded answer as per usual.
Very long-winded, but very great and eye-opening. And yeah, thank you, Kieley. This has been a great conversation and a great question and answer session. Learned a lot in both. Before we wrap up here and talk about what the next State of Craft episode is, I just want to ask that you. Oh, there you go. I was going to ask you to put your email in because you said that a few times.
There it is.
Perfect. Any last thoughts or comments you want to share before we wrap this up?
I'm just doing it there. And this is our Instagram. That's another place. We do lots of announcements on Instagram. So I think my call.
Sorry. Before you go ahead, and for anybody on YouTube watching this later, it's info@parklandflower.com is how you can reach Kieley, and at parklandflower.
And what I'll do is when you drop everything on YouTube, I will put in the comments there too. I'll put that information in there for you folks. I think my action to all the viewers and supporters out there, first of all, I just want to say thank you so very much. But when you buy our gear, like when you buy our seeds and you grow them in your garden, take pictures of them, share them. It's not only does it warm my heart, but it shows people what they can do with what we put out there. This season is my favorite season. Last year was amazing, like seeing everybody's gardens, like growing our plants outside. And I've had people post like, oh my gosh, like this one is stunted or it didn't grow properly, like what happened, and shared it on Instagram. And I share it anyways, and I say this is what we think might have happened, and we give grow tips that way. I've had, if you check out our page, we had someone tag us the other day. They're growing our green tie in Ontario, and I looked at the plants and I was like, something's going on there. So I took my phone back to our breeder, Ron, and I was like, hey, what do you think's going on here? And he's like, that's a pH issue, 100% pH. He's like, if it's not pH, he said they're overwatering. And I immediately went right on Instagram and said, hey, we think you might have a pH issue. You want to dial that down and maybe slack back on your watering. And we're very responsive. I run all of our social medias. So if you have anything like that happen throughout your grow experience, please just reach out to us. And if you have an issue with our seeds, we are very super responsive to that as well. And oftentimes we'll throw a pair of Parkland Flower sunglasses in there when we send out replacement seeds, which we do that as well. If you have issues with germination, seeds not popping, seeds not getting a taproot after trying to germinate, we will replace them. So you can reach out to us. Keep your proof of purchase. That's another big thing. We are heavily regulated. Health Canada does check all of our records. I need proof in order to prove that you did purchase and therefore pay the excise duty. And so if you hang on to your receipt, take a picture of it when you make your purchase, and then you've always got it in your phone. Yeah, those are sort of my recommendations. That's how we do customer service. Oftentimes I treat it like Costco. Like you call in with a complaint, I'm going to replace it, because I think it's important for growers to feel supported, for them to have trust in our company, for them to have trust in our products. And if you're not happy with a product, we're going to replace it for you and give it another go. And yeah, that's what I'll leave off with.
Well, thank you, Kieley. Appreciate you being here and sharing all your perspectives. And congrats on all the great developments that have taken place recently. And I'm glad that things are a little bit less stressful now than they were in the past.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Personally, definitely less stressful. Career-wise, work-wise, it's still just as stressful.
But that
But now
personal
I
less
have to
stress makes
worry
a
about
difference.
now I have to worry about not only my own family, but I have to worry about 10 other people's families. So
Yeah, I hear that. That's kind of how I feel about CertiCraft because we have like we have I think 110 customers who have signed up with us now, and
wow.
each of those have
Congratulations.
thank you, and that's been mostly word of mouth. And we have what 100. Let's just call it on average like 4 employees, 5 employees at every single facility, and let's say like half of those people have are like a provider for a family. Like we're talking about over 1,000 different livelihoods right there with
Yeah,
just those assumptions that I've made, and it's a scary responsibility, and it's one that we take really seriously, and our customers know that we do, which is I think why a lot of people are willing to work with us. But it definitely is something that is a big responsibility, and
absolutely. It is.
puts a big fire underneath us to make sure we do like the damn best job that we can.
100%. Congratulations, you guys. You know, that's a incredible, incredible story in the space as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Well, next time, episode 26, episode 2 of season 2, we have Stewart Farms as our guest. We have 3 people who are part of the leadership team there. Tanner Stewart, who is one of the founders of the farm, and I forget the other 2 people's names. There's 2 awesome women. Like one is the cultivation manager,
Oh,
and the other is
Genevieve.
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 Yeah, she's one
So
of them.
Genevieve,
She's
yeah.
one of them. Yeah, and then there's another woman. I forget her name though. I think she's the operations manager. But anyway, kick-ass
I'm not sure
team.
which one. I know their topicals maker, and her name is escaping me as well. But Genevieve will be at. I'm hoping. I'm like fingers crossed. Genevieve's going to be at our women's retreat.
Awesome.
Incredible grower. Jenny is an incredible grower. Started out home growing. You know, she's been at Sundial. She's been at a couple of different facilities, and she's found a home at Stewart Farms. And Tanner's got an amazing team over there. His vision is unreal, and you know, he's one of my favorite folks in the space. So I'm excited to tune in for that episode as well.
Cool. That'll be in 2 weeks. I'm just looking at their About Us to see if I can find their team. See if I can find this person to give her a shout out to. I feel bad not being able to say the name,
I'm gonna shout out
but
at their bath bombs are awesome. Like
no, they don't have their team
if you're
online.
trying to like moisturize your skin after a long, cold, dry winter, like soak in one of their bath bombs. Like they're amazing. They smell amazing. Yeah, I would 100% recommend. Endorsed by Kieley.
Great. That's amazing. Yeah, and for those of you who aren't familiar with them, they're doing both vertical farming and aquaponics, and
Yeah.
they've developed and designed a closed loop system where the waste from cannabis feeds their fish, and the waste from the fish feeds their cannabis, and they're just really focused on what they can do as far as sustainability goes. Because you know, one of the downsides of the industry we're in, especially in the indoor side, is that there's just a lot of waste, both on an energy level, on an input level. There's just so much that is used in a lot of different facilities, and there are a few out there that are really striving hard to address that in different kinds of ways. And Stewart Farms are one of the companies that are really leading the charge in that front. And yeah, we'll be talking all about their cool stuff that they've been working on over the past few years. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button. We'd appreciate that. And Kieley, thank you again, and thank you to our audience who's here
Thank
right
you
now.
so
And
much. Yeah, check us out, Parkland Flower. We're Parkland Flower on Instagram and Twitter. So I love chatting with the community. So follow us at both places.
All right, toodaloo, everybody.
Bye. Thank you for joining us.
And the chat will stay open. Nancy, I see you're typing stuff. Oh, there we go. You finished it. You're welcome, Nancy. Thanks for being here. You're welcome too, Sarah. Thank you as well.